VCTV, which is the Venture Capital TV from LATOKEN. So we are here with our esteemed speakers and also a founder who is going to share his project. So today we're going to talk about WorkTech, RemoTech, how it has affected our work-life balance. Because of the pandemic, because of the coronavirus shutdown, globally, everybody sort of resorted to working from home, and our lives have got disrupted upside down since 2020 last year. So now is the new normal. Working from home is the new normal. It's the future of work. So we're gonna discuss about some trends, the impact of technology in this space, and the investments that went in the space last year. So yes, before I start introducing my speakers, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the Regional Director of LATOKEN based in Singapore. I host VCTV every day, Monday till Friday, 8 p.m. Singapore. It's a bit of a background about VCTV. It's a platform where we connect investors with founders. That's about collaboration. So we live in a world of collaboration. So that's the entire goal of VCTV. So perfect. Talking about WorkTech, RemoTech, technologies are impacting work as human-machine partnerships accelerate. Human-machine partnerships will power the future of work if humans lead with caution. So today we're going to talk about inclusive talent, empowered workers, and artificial intelligence fluency, which will drive the future of work from our speakers. Perfect. So today we have our investors, Sergey, Gary, and Hemant, who is going to be sharing his project later after that in the second session of the VCTV. I'm going to start the floor with some introductions and background. Let's start with Sergey. Hi, Sergey. Welcome back on VCTV. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm happy to be here again. I'm fine, thank you. So I'm a managing partner of Morphosis Capital Partners. We're a boutique venture capital company with connections to several family offices in Southeast Asia and Europe. So we focus on digital startups in IoT, in AI, in EdTech, RemoTech, WorkTech, and we help them achieve success in Southeast Asia, in Europe, and eventually in US as well. We've been involved with several quite successful startups. One of them is Emverse, esports startup from Singapore. So actually, we also work with private investors, and we have additional consulting arm. So we're expanding, and we happy to be here, and I'm happy to represent the company, and I'm happy to see you all again. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Just a quick one. So what stage of investment do you do in a startup?
We're doing from seed to up to Series A, but our most focus is on pre-seed and seed investments, as we see the most potential to grow the startup from this stage. And since we also have our own consultancy arm that could help the startup to scale properly.
That's good to know, Sergey. Thank you and welcome back on VCTV.
Thank you.
Next, I have Gary Fowler. Hi, Gary. Good morning. How are you today?
Oh, I'm great. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Did you ride your bike yesterday?
Oh, it's over the weekend. I just missed biking, cycling, but yeah, I'll do that over the weekend. I'm going to do a live streaming as well, if I could. Thank you.
Live streaming on your bike?
Oh, on Facebook.
I was going to say. While you're riding your bike, you're going to be one of those persons. I saw a woman yesterday. I was riding my bike, and she actually was texting and biking. And
right.
She wasn't paying attention at all. I thought she was going to hit a telephone pole. You know.
Don't get me wrong. I'll be holding my bike, but I have this little thing in front of my bike where I can place my camera and the standee and everything else all fixed.
Yes. So you're going to be going around, hi, this is VCTV. Let me tell you, we're live down the sidewalk. Yeah, that's great.
Right. Something like that, maybe. Thank you so much, Gary.
Yeah, no, it's good to be here. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've done 17 companies. I was involved in the original management team of Click Software, which was sold 20 months ago for $1.35 billion to Salesforce. I'm also the co-founder of Viva, one of the top AI HR tech, WorkTech companies. And it was founded that, God, it seems forever, but 4.5 years ago. And I love artificial intelligence. I write a lot. I actually have just started to write a lot more about quantum. I have an article coming on the quantum network in Forbes, and then cognitive cloud computing next. So, and then one an entrepreneur. So we just write a lot. I love it. AI is the new electricity, so we're specifically interested in that. I am the CEO, co-founder, and president of GSD, Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a Silicon Valley-based AI venture studio where we curate companies from around the world and use Silicon Valley support to help them get out. And we've been called unicorn breeders.
Fantastic, unicorn breeders. Thank you so much, Gary, for that intro. Next, I have Hemant. Hi, Hemant. Welcome on BCTV. A little bit of intro background and what kind of funding you're looking at. What stage is your startup right now, so that our audience and the investor speakers can get a bit of idea about your startup. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Sunny, for having me here. That was quick, right? In another world, we should be traveling. We should be planning all of this like months in advance, right? But this was quick. I'm happy to be on your platform and happy to share what we're doing at Imaginate. My name is Hemant Satyanarayana. I'm the founder and CEO of Imaginate. What we focus on is in the collaboration space, essentially the meeting, conferencing, or collaboration space, but using avatars, using virtual reality and augmented reality technologies, where you don't really have to worry about cameras, the backdrop, and all of that, and you can just get into any meeting using any of the devices that you have, PC, Mac, or virtual reality or augmented reality devices, where you can have your own avatar, come inside a virtual world where you can learn from each other, you can train others. If you're in an enterprise setting, you can troubleshoot equipment, you can sell products. So I'm going to talk more about it later during my presentation, but that's the startup that I represent. We are a Silicon Valley startup. We're headquartered in San Jose, but we have a development center in India, in Hyderabad. My background, I'm an IIT Madras bachelor's in mechanical engineering. I have about 16 years of experience in virtual reality and augmented reality from Buffalo, from my US days, working with defense startups and education-related startups in the past. So that's about me. Thanks again for having me here, Sunny.
Thank you, Emma. Nice mix. IIT in Buffalo. Wow, amazing. And you rightly said, back in the days before COVID, we used to travel to different countries, to attend such conferences. We used to do blockchain economic forum, like touring the entire world, but it's more convenient, right? Right now, absolutely. Different time zones, US, India, Russia, Singapore. What else can you expect into one time zone? So that's the beauty about remote working now. This is all about remote working. It's all about technology, actually. So let's start with our opening remarks with Sergey. Sergey, over to you with the opening remarks on the topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonny. Well, I would emphasize one thing that currently I'd say concerns me in all these trends. So I've seen just recently a lot of news that remote working actually undermines some of the cities as it removes the tech hub status from them. For example, London or Berlin or Silicon Valley for that case, right? So since companies moved out, moved out a lot of stuff from their offices, there is no need for people to come to their offices. So many employees left the cities or even moved to other parts of the countries, or even moved out of the countries. So that's why, okay, we all know that the big emphasis was put it on the, all these remote work technologies. We have a partner company called MorphoSys that works in Thailand that helped big telecom providers and clients moved to remote space, because that was a shocking case for them. They were not prepared. But with all these remote working tools, what I think people forget sometimes, and I've spoken just recently with the two psychologists, corporate psychologists, right? They help people that work in the office deal with the stress and all that. And one of the big problems that currently companies deal with is that remote workers feel kind of excluded from the work culture. And it's not just about the tools that help them work more effectively. It is also, I would like to emphasize that the remote working is also about the tools that still help these people to feel a part of the team, to feel being a part of the team. So it's not just about, right, to make them more effective. It's about, or productive, or, less distracted, because they're not robots. They still have, this sense of social unity, and they need to have it. So I think that's how the remote working and WorkTech might evolve to this case, that they help to better unite the teams that work on the project, that they help people feel less, distanced from their co-workers, to feel less distance from the work they're doing. Because, okay, a lot of people were very happy to, being working from home. But in the end, they realized that they're happy to be home, but they're probably not happy to be there, all the time. They still want to hang out with their colleagues. They still want to have, these work chats. They still need to have a sense of direction, because when it's purely remote, that's when they start kind of losing the feeling of where the company is going, how this project is going. Their energies are not united. So I think, and that's another thing. I mean, Gary said it absolutely right. AI is the new electricity. And what's important about that it's just a tool. I mean, electricity is not a product, right? I mean, yeah, for some companies it is that provide electricity, that they produce electricity. But in this case, I mean, you cannot sell AI as an electricity if you're not a sole provider for some AI tech. So you kind of need to let these AI help you build better WorkTech and RemoTech products. We have today for the AR, VR startup, let's see how it will represent itself, and what emphasis they're going to make about the new technologies. But I really believe that what we are looking for in the case of RemoTech and WorkTech is not some very complicated technologies that help people emulate what they do in real life, because usually complete emulation is still feeling fake. But probably complement what they lack. If they lack socializing, how we can complement that. If they lack the feeling of unity in the project they're doing, how we can complement that. In this case, the product that will be doing this task, that's the product that's going to win. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely, great points. And obviously, when you're physically not together working on a project, you feel disengaged. But on the flip side, I have to share something on that note. Obviously, LATOKEN is a very multinational company, and we have staff all over the world, including Moscow, South Africa. I haven't gotten a chance to interact with my colleague Roman before. Now I get chance to know who my colleagues are in different parts of the world. Before that, I was only in Asia, traveling in Asia, meeting my colleagues in Asia. But now I know every single person in the company, starting from the east to the west, in the US, talk about in Korea. I know everyone. So that's on the flip side, I would say. It's the engagement is virtual, but it's on a wider scale. But you rightly said, I think if you're working together on a project, you're not in together physically, then obviously it will disengage. But I think on that note, I think companies should think about probably changing their workspace into a sort of networking space where, you know, when you're working on a project, you can just come and network in small groups. I don't know. That's just an idea. Thank you so much, Sergey.
You're absolutely right. I wanted to add that's probably the future of the workspaces. You know, the more flexible networking spaces where sometimes some part of the teams meet and do the networking, but it's not something static that's, you know, embedded in stone. That's you know, where you just come and go, and that lasts for years. No, it's more flexible, and you're absolutely right. There are a lot of positive things, and you know, the remote work.
Yeah, thank you. Let's move to Gary. Gary, over to you, please, with the opening remarks. Thank you.
Yeah, so we've been, you know, for the last year, we've been really forced to be able to work remotely, because if you're in Silicon Valley, a lot of the large corporations and startups don't let you come into the office. So this digital transformation is upon us, and it's encouraging, and not just in Silicon Valley, all over the world. So this was this was bound to happen, but you know, sometimes it's really hard to make things happen because of the meetings and the politics, et cetera. But we were forced to move forward, so it's encouraging. I know for, directly in terms of my company, Eva, at the beginning of the pandemic, the inbound interest is up 38 times, and we're a WorkTech, remote WorkTech workforce management company. So the challenge is, how do we make people feel that they're part of the office, right? How do we give that, you know, hanging around the coffee room kind of mentality, or tea room mentality, so they can talk and share ideas? At the same time, think about the incredible impact that has happened over the last year. So I know in my own case, normally I spend anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 a month just in travel expenses.
Yeah.
So I'm traveling that much. And, you know, now for the last year, my traveling has been on Zoom.
Yes,
Our
we all
streams.
are.
And so it's changed. At the same time, you know, the way that we deal with each other, the way that we deal with our families, you know, now, it used to be before a year ago, if somebody had their dog or their family, their child come up when they were in a meeting, it would be a bad thing. Now it's a good thing. And so I'm encouraged that companies are saving money. That's actually, they're much more productive than they were before. I know in my own case, living down in San Jose and traveling up to Menlo Park to my office could take me 2 hours based on traffic. So I would have to get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning to be able to beat the traffic going into the office. And then if I wanted to get home at a reasonable amount of time and not travel too much, or in terms of time, I would have to leave the office around 8, maybe 9 o'clock at night, come back to my house then about 10 o'clock. So it would take about an hour commute. But I did that every day. Think about it. I wasted 3 hours in traffic. Plus, I ruined my car. I used a lot of gas. And so for me, this is really a chance for us, if we do it right, to be able to dramatically change things. Look at the environment, right? It happened recently that the first time the Himalayas were able to be seen from India in 30 years because of pollution, where our planet has got a chance to heal. But it offers a lot. You know, one of the things people say, well, oh, I have to manage my remote employees. Well, guess what? As I was a CEO of a company a year ago, I still had to manage remote employees. But imagine having technology that can go out and understand directly what's happening with that employee, how happy they are, whether or not they're going to resign, what kind of relationship they have with their managers, how productive are they with their customers. And now those kind of technologies to be able to use artificial intelligence to help do that are in place. And think about it from an HR perspective. Really, we're in the dark ages. We've been in the dark ages with HR. You do an employee review once a year. How do you know what's happening the other 364 days, right? Before
Yeah.
a review? It's crazy. We should have that information on a second basis, on a real-time basis, because if you have a high valued employee, they're working for your company and they decide to leave, it's, it can have a dramatic impact on your business. It could be 2.5 times the value of their salary in terms of the impact on business. So why wouldn't we want to curate that? That's really where the future is. That's where the opportunity is. And, the pandemic is here to stay. People say, oh,
Yeah.
I remember when it started, they said it's going to be 2 weeks. It was like the checks in the mail. It's going to stop in 2 weeks. I know it's going to get better. Well, guess what? If you look at the Spanish flu of 1918, it took 4 years. So the good news is I'm encouraged because humanity adapts, and we've been able to adapt to this pandemic. Now having the solutions, the HR tech, the work tech solutions to optimize it, make it more efficient, and to be able to create happier employees is here for us. And I'm excited. My company, Eva.ai, is a unicorn in this exact space. So I can tell you from the inside out, 2 years ago when we pivoted the company to remote workforce management, people said we were crazy. Oh, don't do that. Why would you want to do that? Companies aren't going to do it. Now the situation, they can't get into their office. If you're in the UK or in Silicon Valley, it's not so easy to go in, and it's like a Russian roulette. You go into your office, you meet the wrong person, nothing good's going to happen. You could get sick. So it's a necessity today that we use those technologies to be able to improve our lives. And Zoom, being here just like we are today on Zoom, brings us closer. But now we've got to look at things like hyper personalization, VR and AR to even make that remote workforce experience better.
Yeah, I totally agree, Gary, with you, because I believe that the productivity has gone up in terms of output of work that we produce right now. Traveling was a big hassle for many of my colleagues, my friends I talked to. Traveling was a big hassle. As you rightly said, 3-4 hours easily wasted. If I see it right now, easily wasted. And whenever you're rushing in and out of a workplace, you obviously you fall sick. You call in sick. But now, since you're working from home, obviously, if you're sick, you just log into Zoom and finish your work, and you just go back, lie down. These are the feedback these are the things that I hear from my friends or my colleagues. So in that sense,
Sunny, the other side of it is, I don't know what your schedule's like. Like yesterday or today, right? I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning. My last call's with Australia at 11 o'clock tonight. My day's a lot wider than it used to be. So on one side, it's a lot better. We're not commuting. On other side is I'm working like huge amount of hours. I'm having so many meetings every day. It's like one after another. We've become really efficient at putting meetings together. We've got calendars. Now we got Zoom, and yes, you don't have to commute, but we're working a lot more hours.
I have a solution for that. We both cycle, we both bike, we can both live stream and say hi to each other.
You can get a little screen and put on your bike. It could be like ride around and you have your workout at the same time.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
By the way, I tried it. I tried it for the heck of it. I did try Zoom on my bike. The problem is there's a lot of wind noise. It doesn't work like you think it should work. I had to stop.
I think you should switch to Facebook Live instead. That works.
There you go.
Thank you, Gary. Awesome. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. Last question from Sergey and Gary before we move to Hemant to present his startup. Sergey, in terms of technologies, which technologies have come to play mostly, including AI and other technologies? Sergey, are you there?
Yes,
I think you're.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I thought I saw an avatar of Sergey.
I can sit perfectly still. I think this.
Yeah, you look so still. Like probably Sergey's avatar is going to speak now. So, in terms of technology adoption, how quickly startups were able to move into the space, upgrade whatever they had, like Zoom, for instance, likes of Zooms. What startups did to be in the space? How did that pivot for you? Thank you so much.
Well, if we think about technology part, I don't think there is a need for some right now for some really groundbreaking technology, because if we speak about Zoom, for example, the technology is not groundbreaking, right? So I mean, it's traditional video conferencing. It's how you package it. It's what features it should have for people to use it, because we still have Microsoft Teams, we still have Google Meet, we still have Skype actually, but where is it now? So the thing is, for example, just recently, I think 2 days ago, let me check, there's the UK startup, yes, White Hat, rebrands as Multiverse and raises 44 million to build tech apprenticeships in the US. And that's the thing that, for example, interesting, right? So you kind of need to have these remote, there is a need for remote apprenticeship. There is a need for remote coaching of the people for the corporate, for the big companies, because they cannot right now do these, traditional coaching that they usually do, how they coach people and help them grow. So the technologies are also already there. I mean, there is nothing new about coaching or nothing new about ad tech. It's about how you package them. So it's also about AI or machine learning. I think startups should integrate they shouldn't integrate the technology just for the sake of it being there. They should think how this technology will complement their business, how it will help to better address their product to the customers. Because when I see a startup that just saying, okay, we are AI, machine learning, blah, 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 something, my question is, why exactly you need AI and machine learning? And for some of them, the honest answer would be because we want the bigger attention from investors, because that's what sells better, right? But because sometimes you see weird things, you see very traditional concept and being injected with the AI just for the sake of it being there. And there is nothing revolutionary about the concept itself. So I think it's the same as it was with blockchain. We all remember that when everyone implemented the word blockchain just for it to be there. So the technology, of course, there are technologies that are more popular or less popular. That's why I'm interested how Hemant will explain us the AR and VR, because I wouldn't decline that. I wouldn't argue with that investors also, we all understand, they read the trends, they read the news, and if the VR and AR is not the best trend at the moment, you need to really explain to the investors why it should be, because they all look at the news and they all know, okay, that's not the sexiest thing at the moment. So yes, investors, of course, are people, they want the sexiest thing.
Yeah, I'll come to Hemant on that. Before that, I have a question on Gary. So between Zoom and Skype, why Zoom zoomed up, but Skype, because I used to use Skype before the pandemic. I used to be on Skype calls. I didn't like Zoom for instance. I never knew Zoom existed. I knew Zoom existed. I never felt a urge to move from a Skype call to a Zoom call. But what happened? What was the reason why Zoom took up and Skype didn't? One, and talking about AR and VR, I believe the children, the kids, they love anything to do with games and gaming. And when they get that goggles on and start playing games on their console, I think when they move to educational setup, like the same gaming experience, but they're actually learning something, I think that's kind of interesting for them, I think. But we're going to hear from Hemant as well, and probably Sergey later on the session. So Gary, over to you. Between Zoom and Skype, I always have this question: why Skype couldn't take off?
Yeah, I mean, the situation is, so one is, if you look at Zoom, they really they catered to this prosumer market. So both the consumers and business owners. So that's their number one. The other thing is the artificial intelligence behind Zoom. Look at the images compared to Skype. I mean, we're a lot clearer. So I remember when I was one of the early Zoom users. I got it from one of their venture capitalists. Said, "Oh, you got to try this tool." And so the other thing is they have a freemium model, right? So it's not then 5 years ago when I got on Zoom, there weren't that many freemium models out like that. So the free users had access to the same features as the paid users, but they were really restricted to like 40 minutes. So as long as you spoke quickly, you're in good shape, right?
Right.
Sometimes you say, we're going to have a 45-minute meeting, but I don't know if you're like me. What I did is I ended up buying the premium model
Subscription.
because I kept going over and I wasn't going to go off a call and then come back on a call. It was too kludgy. So, and that's really enough for just having short meetings. And the other thing is Zoom made it really simple. You know, a lot of these other technologies that were out there weren't so easy to implement and use. And they really made it easy for a first path to engagement. So that's one of the other pieces. The other thing is, you know, with Zoom, it was really easy to sign up. You could just use an email address and get those meeting capabilities literally right away and host a meeting. And so ease of use, you know, they did a good job in terms of product placement and they're very agile. I mean, look, when they were doing this, there was Zoom bombing taking place. I don't know if you ever had that happen, but you know, people were coming in and Eric reacted very quickly. So Zoom is it's flexible, it's adaptable, it can be used on a phone. It's got incredible AI capabilities. You've got incredible capabilities to create a meeting easily. So it's just a good thing. I mean, it's funny because when I met the original team of Zoom, I mean, look at it 5 years ago, and today he's worth Eric's worth $20 billion almost. And look at how it's really, when we talk about have a meeting, we don't even say let's have a conference call on the computer. We say let's have a Zoom meeting.
Yes.
And it's like Zoom is like in some countries Xerox is. It's just assumed that means copy. Well, Zoom means have a meeting online.
Yes, I used to I grew up in India. I used to say, let's go on Xerox it, like photocopy
Yep,
it.
exactly. And so, but and it's really it's the quality of the images. And then just like you have a virtual background today, it's
Yeah.
having the capability. We didn't have those. A lot of the technologies out there didn't have virtual backgrounds. Well, now people are working out of their houses, their bedrooms, you know, corner of a room, and they don't, you know, they don't want to be intruded upon. So having the capabilities to be able to have a virtual background to promote a company or service and give you that more of a business feel is incredible.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, it's a nice system to have. It's just really, if you want to put in a virtual background, all you need to do, if you want to put the Golden Gate Bridge in, you just go into the virtual settings, click on it and boom, you know,
Yeah.
hasta la vista, it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zoom is the new Google, like everybody Google it, Zoom it. Thank you so much, Gary.
Can I add, yes.
Sorry, go ahead. Sergey, go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to add a bit about Zoom and Skype. So one of the things is, you know, in Zoom, you need to have an email to join a call. In Skype, you need to create an account. So actually, since Skype was too long on the market, and it had a very shaky, you know, corporate machinations history, was sold to eBay in 2005. Then it was spun off to private equity, then acquired by Microsoft. And the thing is that Skype's quality deteriorated when it was acquired by Microsoft. When I hate having Skype on my phone simply because it drained my battery. And it drained my battery so fast that it was impossible. I mean, I even muted it. You know, it even drained my battery when I had everything turned off. So it's still kind of, notifications popped up. I cannot read can't read of them. So Skype really felt like something, from the previous age. While Zoom, despite the fact that it was there for some time, it felt new. So when people that were not technically, not this tech proficient, non-technical people, when they realize that it's easy to use Zoom, no way you can get them back to Skype. And don't forget, I mean, Skype is kind of a messaging app. That was what it was. I mean, we've sent we've sent messages through Skype, we've sent some, videos and all that, but then WhatsApp came and it all became redundant. So for Skype to get back, I think it needed more. So ultimately, I would say that's the quality, because in Skype it was quite hard to have to achieve reliability and to have multiple multi-users conference, while on Zoom it was pretty easy. So I think yes, I mean, Skype lost this war a long time ago when their quality just deteriorated and people had no idea why they need it, because they can, if they need to call someone privately, they can use multiple other apps. If they need messaging, they definitely don't need Skype. So
but you know what? I feel very bad about Skype, because they had that, the potential to become another Zoom, because they were the first mover in the space, so to say. But anyways, let's not talk about that anymore. Let's move to the next session with Hemant. Hi, Hemant. It's your time now. Let's start the presentation. Just keep it high level with the key points and the pain points that you're solving. Thank you. Over to you, please.
Okay, thanks a lot, Sani. That was a great conversation by Gary and Sergey. A lot of valid points, like the prosumer on Zoom, the business model there, and and typically in terms of pitches, what's the role of AI and is it necessary or not from Sergey? I think great observations there. It was good to be a part of that conversation. So for my presentation, I'm going to share my screen and take you through what we do, more pictorial way, because we're talking about virtual reality and augmented reality. We are on Zoom today. I wish another day we are on our platform where we can all join using our avatars, not just change your background, but change your appearance and have your own avatar as well, right? So that's what so we bring to light. Let me share my screen now. That's okay. Can you confirm if you're able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see. Yes.
Okay, cool. Right. Let me just switch quickly. Sorry.
We lost the presentation.
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly reshare again.
Oh, sorry.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Let me just go full screen here. Okay, cool. So you're seeing the full screen view, right, Sunny?
Yes, that's correct.
Right, cool, thanks. Yeah, so Imaginate, the company that I founded like a few years ago, has been focused on enterprise collaboration space even before the COVID days, right? And when it comes to collaboration, we've been seeing 2D collaboration for a while. Like we talked about Skype. Skype has been there for a while. There is Yahoo video chat and a lot of other, video chat services that were there for a while, right? So what we found lacking when it comes to enterprise collaboration is the ability to immerse with each other, with employees. I mean, people have been working from remote parts of the world for a while now, even before COVID days, right? Now, when it comes to collaborating with more people, typically it is about Skype calls or things like that, where it is not immersive. And for some companies who are able to afford a little more immersive equipment, they would go on to Cisco's telepresence, for example, which is a very large screen which you had to physically install for about $200,000 a kiosk in one of the centers in an office. Right? So that is what will bring in a little more immersive presence. But those are all not cost effective. So what we looked at is how we could use VR, AR to bring in that ability of immersing with your colleagues worldwide. So that's what we've been working on. We've been rated by Forrester, Deloitte, IDC, Gartner as a top innovator in this space. In terms of areas in typically in enterprises, what we have seen as something where there is scope for improvement, we start off with training, right? So when it comes to training and when it is remote, typically training happens through PowerPoints, videos, right? And and of course these days it's much more prominent. But what it lacks is the ability for a trainer to understand how much of that what is being taught is being retained by the trainees, right, during that session. In a physical classroom, this is quite easy for experienced trainers to understand. When they're inside a classroom, they move around, they talk to different students. That's super easy to sort of understand what is the engagement that is happening with the students. But in a virtual like Zoom based or any such other platform based training, it's always dependent on the bandwidth at the last mile. There could be some students who are not able to see it in a much more clearer way. So it's quite challenging to do a training using regular 2D tools. The second is design reviews when it comes to like creating new facilities, new machines, new products. Having a 2D environment to reviewing 3D data is not at all intuitive, right? So it takes a lot of time and effort to understand what's behind the machine. And you got to typically ask the presenter, to share his screen, move the screen around and all that. So, and then, and what we have seen in enterprises is those meetings are very productive if there are only 3 or 4 people. If you have more than 3 or 4 people, the fourth guy, fifth guy is not going to pay attention, or he's not going to provide input in a much more engaging way like the second person. Right. So likewise, remote medical help, assisted sales, and a few more is what we're focused on. I'm going to talk a little more in detail about how we solve these problems. Just moving on to what we really have, right? So we have a solution which enables users with their avatars to come inside virtual worlds. If you see the picture on the left, which is a VR meeting where we are seeing 2 different avatars, 2 different people in a technician or a worker attire in a manufacturing plant. So they're inside this virtual garage with a machine which is all exploded, where a trainer can invite multiple people like that inside a virtual garage and remove each and every nut and bolt, gear, shaft, or whatever off the machine and present it to everybody in front of them, right? And which the difference between a Zoom or this platform is everybody has their own independent view of the model whenever they want, or just have a trainer-led view of the entire model. Right? If I want to see the machine internals, I can still go and look at the machine internals while the trainer is, helping a few other students with the same machine. Right? The second one that we have, the one that you see on the right, when you look at augmented reality, because virtual reality and augmented reality, for the lack of a better single acronym like extended reality, it has been used several times as VR/AR, right? So the augmented reality, as we all know, is the ability where we can immerse virtual objects in the real world and make it blend for the end user, right? So you can actually have a tiger. I mean, during COVID days, there were, the Google did a nice, hack where it enabled a lot of parents with kids to have a lot more joy come into the, to the houses, right? So where they were able to bring in a lion, tiger, and kids were able to go around and all that, right? So what we are doing is we are using that technology to bring in a sales guy along with the virtual model of the car, for example, to the customers' homes, right? So that snapshot that you're seeing is a snapshot taken from our software of one of my colleagues, right, who was actually in a different city. And I was somewhere else where I was able to talk to him through his avatar using my regular iPhone and also be able to see the car that is brought into my garage, where he's sort of giving me a tour of this orange colored car, and he's walking around and I'm in a live conversation with him while I'm seeing this car, right? Not just the ability to see a model in AR, but the ability to talk to a sales guy while you are seeing the model is also possible in AR, right? We'll talk about why it's more immersive and expansive. So the first, when it comes to team meetings, the WorkTech, right? So the first thing that, I think in the last panel discussion, we briefly talked about the ability for people to work in groups, which is what is missing today when it comes to remote work, right? So what we have through our platform is everybody can have their own avatars. Once you are inside the virtual space, you can express yourself using your avatars without restriction on the screen space, right? So it's like playing a game. The solution works like any other gaming application. You can use this application on your PC, MacBook, or VR devices or AR devices. It is not necessary that you have to always wear a VR device. You can just use your regular computer, could be a MacBook or a Windows, and use the up, down, left, right arrow keys to move around virtual spaces using your avatar. And using your avatar, you can go and meet people, whoever you find in the space. It can be a virtual office with, let's say, 10 different teammates, who have joined the morning call, and maybe they need to spend a little more time until the finish of their work. So they can all be sitting in groups. They can be working on their own, the regular work. But whenever they need to speak to somebody, they can actually like walk up to them using keyboard and talk to them. The one of the unique features that we have is what is called proximity audio. What it means is, you can have parallel conversations, right? In a Zoom-like meeting, there's only one conversation at a time. You cannot have, like, for example, Sergey cannot be talking to Gary at the same time while I'm presenting, right? Now, but again, in regular daily work life, it is not mandatory that there's only one conversation that happens, because that's not how an office environment works, right? So here, so you can naturally create different encapsulations where people can go in and walk up to whoever they want and talk to them.
So quick question, Hemant. While Gary and Sergey are talking in a different room, can you hear them talk?
No.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, so great question. So this in the virtual space, it's very similar to the real world. So what it means is, for example, if you see the third picture at the bottom right, then in that third picture, the lady who's standing in a suit, she's a little far away compared to the picture on the top right. Right.
Yeah.
So in the real world, it implies that you can hear her better when you're very close to her, like in the top right.
Yeah.
Right. It's exactly the same way it works in the virtual software as well, where if you move away from the character, from the avatar, about few virtual meters away, you'll not be able to hear her. So if you have to speak to her, you just go a little closer to her, and then you can speak to each other. So it's very, from a behavior standpoint, we have just taken the entire behavior like in the real world, mimicked it to the virtual world. And all that you'll have to do is you don't have to physically walk. If you have a VR device, you can physically walk, but otherwise use your keyboard to move around and talk to others.
Sure.
The other thing is, again, in this software, for example, we are just seeing one screen right now. So if there are multiple teams working, they may want to like have a whiteboard, they may want to have a sticky note, they may want to have like a bunch of sticky notes around, let's say for a design thinking workshop. Now that is not possible in typical virtual meetings. So we have enabled it where if you see the picture on the left, you can have a smart board where you can show PowerPoints and videos. And the lady who's seated, she's actually seeing a sticky note in front of her, like the green color thing. So you can have, this is 360-degree scene inside our software. You can have bunch of material all around the virtual space. Whenever you want to see something, all that you need to do is to like look around, right? Looking around is using your mouse and then turning around. That's pretty much it.
I think for a better experience, sorry to interrupt, I think it's better to have that goggles and have that virtual experience instead of on a laptop. But laptop screens are very small, right? How would you have that experience?
Correct. Let me actually quickly show you like how it typically works. Sorry, I don't intend to. This you would know. Let me just quickly get back here. Yeah. So this is a small video of how few people were doing city planning inside a virtual space. I hope you're able to see my browser screen.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
is YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just play this.
NTCD, what do we do actually? Can you open our password?
Yeah, let me. So what's let me just provide you the context here. So this is virtual city model, right? It's a 3D backdrop. Typically in 2D platforms, it's just one 2D picture that's as a backdrop, right? So here you can have a city or a hospital or whatever you want, and then with the avatars that people have picked. In this case, that was my avatar. I look a lot better in that avatar. So I've been using
NTCD. What do we do actually? Can you open our password?
Yeah, let me pull up.
Oh, okay.
Abhishek, this is good. So we have a couple of boards here. This is nice. I think this layout looks good, Abhishek. I think that's decent. Right? And we have.
I don't know if you're able to hear the audio as well. Were you able to hear the audio?
Yes, we can.
So what was happening there is, when I, from my PC, was moving around, the second person and the third person, they were able to see my avatar walk around, right? So when in my PC, if I just walk around, let me just mute here and just show this. So when I look at the board on the right, the other person immediately noticed my avatar and they understood that I'm actually like more interested in this particular image, right? And everybody who are a part of that meeting, they immediately got attention into that particular video that I'm seeing, right? And and the avatars are not just static avatars; they are animated avatars. When you speak, like how I'm using my hands on a real video.
Hello.
And their hands move as well, right? So which is much more expression full of avatars, right? Let me so now with that, let me just get back. So by the way, this is something that this is for later, not necessarily in an enterprise setting where you can actually meet presidents if you want to meet in a White House, virtual White House environment as well. Yeah, let me just quickly.
So we take question and answers from judges, so we'll have to little hurry up.
Yeah, sorry. Let me just, I think just have to share this once again. Okay. So so like this, you can imagine like how Zoom can be used for mental health consultations or webinars or anything, right? So it's a conferencing platform. You can use it for onboarding employees in a virtual hospital, virtual factory, or a virtual a government office, for example, right? So where you can introduce the company's norms all in a virtual digital twin of the company without having to meet in person. The other thing that we do is we use avatars to enable assisted sales today. In an absence of necessary travel, the people, as salespeople, are just forced to use PowerPoint videos for everything, right? Instead of inviting a client to come into a customer experience center. But here, the great thing about this is you can have your own virtual customer experience center where you can introduce everything that you have as a product to your client or a potential client all inside the virtual space. Digital twinning, this is essentially where you can sort of replicate the entire factory, in its as a digital twin inside a virtual space where you can not just learn how exactly it works, but you can make changes to the digital twin, to the actual physical asset as well. The other significant aspect of what we provide is remote troubleshooting using devices like Google Glass or what is called as RealWear and a bunch of other devices where we enable the field worker to be able to put on a smart glass and be able to see checklist of whatever he's supposed to do, follow the checklist and perform that those action items, and also relay live video of what he's saying to a remote expert and get immediate guidance on how to fix it. Now, in terms of customers, so this is a quick snapshot of all the customers that we have acquired just from last year onwards. So Shell from Singapore is a very large customer of ours. We've been working with them for the last 4 years now, but otherwise, Technip from France, Cisco for assisted sales, Reliance, which is an oil and gas major for training, Amada from Japan for assisted sales and maintenance is what they've been using this for. The engagement with all these clients is through pure software sales, software licensing sales, basically, where we provide, like how Zoom does on a host license basis, we provide our software on a host license basis by the month or by the year for all our clients.
Can we take some questions now, Hemant?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, Sergey, over to you, please.
Okay, thank you. My question would be, what is exactly the problem you're trying to solve?
Sure. So there are actually, sorry, is there another question?
Yes, I mean, what is exactly the problem you're trying to solve, and try to answer like in a very short sentence.
Sure. So this is the ability to connect better with remote employees. Remote employees to connect better is what is missing in the current age tools. So where it is always driven with just video and screen share, which will not solve for a lot of enterprise related problems. So in enterprises, if I were to pick the training as the most important problem statement that we solve at Imaginate, because like Zoom,
okay, I understand. The second question: why you think this problem really exists? I mean, that it needs to be, and especially why you think it needs to be solved through AR and VR.
Absolutely. So, can I answer that through a customer case study?
No, if very short, yes, but better, more
Yes.
precise.
All right. Understood. So very shortly, in about few seconds, right? So a lot of companies are forced to use Microsoft Teams or Zoom to impart training to all different dealerships or whoever, which has last mile video bandwidth problems, which has problems about showing 3D models, showing that real product like experience using 2D tools. What we provide is that immersive ability of understanding the product, how exactly it works, and with the highest quality possible for each and every dealership service guy, where an automotive manufacturer will be able to deliver a complete training program of a vehicle end to end with very little hassle. That is all because of what we have seen with lesser travel. What it means, everybody is forced to use 2D tools, which has a lot of problems. So we solve it through our software with better features that we have.
Okay, so Hemant, sorry to interrupt again. All our judges have the copy, the deck. If you could stop the sharing, the viewers can actually listen to you properly. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Okay. I would say that. Okay, there are plenty of things that concern me in this project. I would not emphasize the graphics, for example, because it really, I mean, the graphics is something from very old times, and there were questions why not use Unreal Engine, but that's not the case. The problem is, first of all, people really have troubles orientating and navigating in 3D space. That's the truth. I mean, I've worked with gaming companies. I know if you've met people that never played video games, they have troubles navigating in 3D space. So all the employees, these corporates are actually, will have troubles understanding what's what. And apart from the fact that they need to understand the information that you're giving them, that will be additionally distracted by, the backgrounds and, the cities or whatever it is, the background, they need to kind of navigate in this 3D space, but they're not used to. So that kind of disrupts this principal KISS, keep it simple, stupid. So it's not it's not easy to do this because they need to be educated just to navigate in this space.
Yeah.
Another thing that concerns me, like I said, okay, the AR VR, I understand why it was. I've seen your company history from 2017. AR VR was really a big thing there back then. But the thing is that what I'm seeing right now, and that's why I asked why you think this problem could be solved through AR VR, simply because I don't believe that AR VR is the solution here. I see it as a complication. So for me, it a bit complicates the learning process. It serves as a middleman between me and the teacher, but we just need to talk through digital avatars to have some additional layers between us. I mean, maybe I'm missing something out. But to me, it seems like additional complication. That's why I asked you why you think this problem should be solved through VR AR.
Yeah, so that's a great point, Sergey. So typically, when it comes to video conferences, it's not a one-time setup, right? So my daughter, who takes Zoom classes, she goes through that hassle of video bandwidth, all of that every day, each and every day. Each and every day, teachers have problems when it comes to like muting, unmuting people. There's a lot of noise. I can't see a video. Can you just focus better? Can I see you better? This is a usual problem for, I would say, like more than 50% of people who spend time on Zoom in closed group meetings, right? And in team meetings as well, the mute, unmute, crosstalk. Hey guys, I can't hear you well. Can you mute yourself? Right? And then the ability to share, not share is actually a problem which a lot of people face, and we have overcome it, right? But luckily with our platform, right, we definitely have the navigation thing to begin with, which people have to understand. What we have done is we kept it super easy. All that you'll have to do is to press the up arrow, down arrow, left arrow, or right arrow. When you move forward, hit the up arrow, you'll move forward. You want to hit the down arrow to go back. In fact, we organized a grade 4 students meet, like people from grade 4, like primary school, where they played Pictionary inside the platform. This is grade 4 students, right? 8-year-old or 7-year-old, 9-year-old students who are able to play Pictionary, which is not possible in a Zoom-like environment, where they're able to use the mouse and do all of that. The least that we need people to do is to use the up, down, left, right arrow keys to move around wherever they want and just stop, right? And the teacher, for the trainer or the teacher, if they need to know if the people are engaged, all that they do is they just look around. I mean, they don't have to navigate to the avatar anymore. Avatar is a one-time setup. You don't have to worry about video camera, lighting, whatever, for every other meeting at all. Avatar is a one-time setup. You upload your photograph, your 3D avatar gets created, and that stays with you for the rest of usage of the software, all the months, right? So, it's just the first time where you need to create your avatar. And after that, it's just the up, down, left, right arrow keys that you need to be familiar with. We don't have any other hassles at all other than that.
Right. Any other question from you, Sergey?
No, I think Gary will complement my thoughts. I mean, I'm sure he has his thoughts. So I'll pass to Gary.
Thank you. Gary, please, your questions and feedback. Gary, you're on mute.
Yeah, I write about this stuff a lot, actually. So the next levels of artificial intelligence and engagement and collaboration. So these are the kind of tools for the future of, to be able to deepen the relationship we have in this, one perspective Zoom, to be able to get us down to the next levels. This is the way it's going to be. And these tools are the beginning of that trend that I see. And like I said, I've written several articles about this. So I'm encouraged because, I'm also a clinical psychologist. And one of the things as a psychologist, you need to have, more touching experiences. If we're going to live in the virtual world, which we've been forced to do, and we'll probably be doing it for another year, maybe 2 years, we've got to have tools like this that can actually help us get closer. And I know like I said, with my WorkTech company, Eva, the inbound interest is 38 times up at the beginning of the pandemic. And the companies, I talk to companies all over the world being in this space, and they're looking for technologies like this to be able to enrich the experience that you have online. So I like it. My question is, Hemanth, how much revenue do you have today? What are you doing today with revenue?
Yeah, so Gary, thanks for bringing those observations on, the touch. My wife is a psychiatrist, so I understand a lot more about what you're saying. Now, with respect to revenues, we are about at $300,000 in software licensing revenue as of last year. We raised a little bit of money in the past now, and we're looking to raise a little more money with 15 top clients that we have. We are looking to scale up now.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, it's I've had the honor of being on a lot of panels. I do probably 20 panels a week, including my shows, and a lot of them 3/4 center around AI. So I think that you're moving in the right direction with it. And this is the way the future, when you look at, here we are, right? Sergey's in Moscow, Sonny's in Singapore, you're in Silicon Valley. Right now I'm in Palm Beach because I can't get back to San Jose. So we are spread, and Roman's in St. Pete. So we're spread all over the world today, and we've got to enhance those types of experiences. So the more we can enrich it and create, somebody was laughing, I was saying it's kind of like a Tron-like experience, but really where you're inside and become part of something, that's where the beauty starts to happen. And we need to, if this is going to work, which it has to, it's by enriching those experiences and deepening those experiences. So I like what you have, and it's the future. It's the next step. It's the beginning of the next step, right? It's when we really have ourselves walking around there, which will happen soon, right? Very soon. And the systems can tell us where to go or what we need to do or where the avatars need to be. That's when it starts becoming exciting. And and then the experiences you can have, think about it, med tech, using avatars to be able to do certain things where there's danger, right? How do I go down through in a training situation as a firefighter, understand where I need to go and what the implications of me going that direction take. So it's for training, it's incredible. Well, it's literally across the board. So I said, when I write about it, I call it the hyper personalization of these experiences, and that's where it is. So it's exciting.
Sure. Thanks.
Great. Good to have mixed feedback. I always say that. So you can work on both. So thank you, Gary, for those feedback. Thank you, Sergey. Really appreciate. Also, I really agree with Sergey on one point. For me, I'm just saying, for me, generally, it's a little complicated. Probably I'm just not in that. I haven't used AR, VR much, so a little bit complicated, as Sergey said. But Gary rightly said, it's the future. It's the future. So perfect. It's the right mix of feedback. Thank you so much. I like to first ask Hemant, how was the experience pitching or speaking on VCTV? This is the first time. I just want to start with you, please.
Well, like Sergey mentioned, it's no hassle to be on the session here. Definitely it was easy, just some camera setup, etc. I need to figure it out. Normally in our meeting, we just use avatars, just go in. Great to be here. Great to be speaking to Gary, Sergey, and yourself, Sonny. That's fantastic, because that is not possible, every day. I think Gary is lucky to be on like 20 different panels every week. Again, that's basically from across the world, right? So this is a great opportunity for me to have feedback from all of you, and also present through LATOKEN what we have with your audience. That was it's a no hassle, great experience to be here. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that feedback, because we are looking to have more and more founders on our show so they can pitch their ideas to investors like Gary and Sergey. And thank you, Hemant, for being on the show today. Sergey, closing remarks from you, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a great show. So I'm happy that we had, different opinions on the subject with Gary. I mean, that's the beauty, because that's how you can see, different angles of the subject. So, and I agree with Gary. I mean, there are a lot of technologies that are the future. It's just how you present them and probably how you package them. So I would say to VCTV viewers that think of how people will use your product, test it constantly. Don't test it with just technical people, test it with common people, right? Those who will be using your product every day. Like Gary said, he showed the product to people in the supermarkets, in the cafe shops. Okay, currently it's more complicated, but you can still send a link to many people and just ask them for their opinions. And don't be afraid, and don't be turned away if they say, oh, it's complicated, oh, I can't use that, because you need to have multiple opinions. You need to have different opinions. So yes, again, pay attention to the trends, but not try to always be, the first to implement this trend. Think of the product, think of the users. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for those remarks, Sergey. Really appreciate that. Gary, over to you, please.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is really a great opportunity for us. Here we are at the beginning of this next decade, and the kind of changes that are going to take place all around us are going to be able to enhance and enrich our lives. As I said, AR and VR are critically important, because what it does is it deepens that experience, that interrelationship between human beings, deepens the relationship with companies, and helps us understand better how we feel as humans in a particular setting. It humanizes it, if you will. So I'm encouraged by it, and this is the next level. And again, this is a baby steps, but this is the direction it's going to take. You're going to see more and more companies move in this direction, because we don't want to have flat experiences. We want to have enriched experiences. We want to have real experiences. And so just like Zoom 5 years ago, when I was one of the first users of Zoom, and people said it wasn't going to work, and why would you want to do this? And I already have Skype. I was telling them because the quality of the images is a lot better, and the model is just light years ahead of where Skype was at the time. So what I see is that this is in this new era, this dawn, the enriched experience with AR and VR are not like an option, they're a necessity. It will happen. It is happening. And if you want to make some interesting investments, move in that direction.
Great feedback, Gary. Great feedback for you, Hemant, to take note of as well. You're already revenue-making company, a startup, revenue-making startup, so it's a good thing. Congratulations. And I hope you get the much-needed funding that you're looking for. And for the viewers, I'm back tomorrow on VCTV on a health tech panel. So please don't miss out. And again, entrepreneurs and founders, just like Hemant, you can speak with our investors, Gary, Sergey, and many more on VCTV. Please reach out to me and I'm going to have you on this panel. Thank you so much for watching VCTV. Thank you so much for your engagement today, Gary, Hemant, Sergey. Fantastic show.